Harbor and go on to victory.
Pearl Harbor was calm one bright Sabbath morning, but trouble and strife were lying in wait. Then out of the sky came hawks of destruction, piloted by disciples of hate. When bombs filled the air with all of their fury, a story of shame was being unfurled. A coward's desire fell down on Pearl Harbor, spreading the war all over the world. Oh, someday they'll pay for all of their evil, when all of their schemes are proven in vain. We'll never forget that day in Pearl Harbor, and they'll regret it time and again. Oh, what will they say to all of their children, and how can they look themselves in the face? Oh, what will they do that great judgment morning? They must go down in mortal disgrace.
Hey friends, how's it going? Well, welcome back. I know we're getting a little bonus feature here, as promised. And I'm sitting out here in the time cave, enjoying a little afternoon smoke and doing a little reflecting. Yeah, that's right. Oh, you see that? Well, here we go. That's right. Remember Pearl Harbor. Yeah. Yesterday, December 7th, we, as a car club, we went out to the Moon Eyes car show, which I did take, I did make content of the car show. Not all of it, but some of my favorite things. There was a few things I wanted to video, but I didn't get a chance to, sadly. It got really warm, and having been up since 1:30 in the morning, I was, once it started getting warm, I wasn't going to video anything else. And not to mention my camera, I thought I was charging it overnight, but it wasn't plugged all the way in. So I had probably 10% battery life on my iPhone, and it wasn't going to really take a whole lot of video. So forgive the lack of content at the car show, but I did take some, and I think you'll enjoy what I did. But anyway, I did make that license plate for the Dodge, and you know, it's made of masonite, and I glued the graphic onto the face of masonite, and it came out really well. Yeah, had a little help from a friend, and it worked out just right. But yeah, the originals are $400 or $500. Mm-hmm. But you know, they're 83 years old, and they're not common. A lot of that stuff was thrown away. I get it. Yeah. Now, if I had a real booster plate from that era, would I put it on the Dodge? Questionable. Because they're highly collectible and easy to steal. Yeah. So, that being said, I figured a copy was adequate. But anyway, the original booster plates were masonite as well. But that's beside the point. The point is, this annual holiday party that the Moon Eye Speed Equipment Company throws in Irwindale landed on December 7th. And that was... I wasn't mad, but I was a little sad because I know it's probably just me. Not many people really pay attention to these historic times or anniversaries. No. No, they don't. But I do. And a day like yesterday, I usually don't do too much. And there's usually not much to do to begin with. There's usually no events that commemorate the anniversary of Pearl Harbor. Well, not in California anyways. I'd imagine in Hawaii there are. And the United States Navy always commemorates that day with a ceremony. And I haven't seen anything yet, but I will be looking. But 83 years, it's a long time. It's not 85 years or 90 years or whatever, but I think they do commemorate it every year. But, however, I always make it a point to observe, to sit and reflect and think about those that I knew, that were involved, that were survivors. And their stories were amazing. And I'll never forget some of their stories. They were special. And the fact that they shared them with me is also special. Because I know what it takes for some of these veterans to actually open up and talk about the traumatic experiences that they had. That's right. It's not easy. It's not easy for anyone to, go through something that traumatic. And there's been traumatic experiences to mankind since then and before then. It's just it's something that I connect with because I knew a fair amount of the veterans, and I was around them every weekend nearest or on Pearl Harbor Day. And shout out to Bill Hattrick if you're watching. He used to run in an excursion called the Pearl Harbor Day Troop Train with Bill Lewis. And we used to take a restored passenger car, or club car rather, which was owned by Bill Hattrick, the Overland Trail, and you would couple it to another restored vintage passenger car from the 40s, 50s. And to the tail end of a Amtrak Surfliner. And we would reenact. We would dress as either servicemen or civilians, and with a backstory, and we would mingle with the guests who were at the time mostly either Pearl Harbor veterans, survivors, or World War II generation. And we would do some dance demonstrations of the 40s to the music, of course, and we would talk with them and listen to their stories and give them the spotlight. Yeah, it was great. It really was. Yeah, it was. But anyway, those times were special because I got to talk to them and listen to them and hear their stories and listen to them talk with each other, which is even more interesting. To listen to those guys talk with each other was a treat. So I guess you could say I built a kinship with some of those gentlemen, doing that event every year from 2003 to 2017 or 18, I think? Yeah, 2017, I think, was the last year. I think it was the 75th anniversary. It was the last year we did it. And the only reason why we stopped was because Amtrak stopped allowing it. Now, don't get upset. Amtrak didn't stop allowing us honoring the veterans. They stopped allowing or entertaining passenger cars or personally owned private rail cars to be connected to their trains. And, that was something they made a decision on. And I guess it was more hassle than it was worth to them to allow it. But at any rate, it was a great time. It was a great run. And I reflect on those moments, on those historic passenger cars with Alex Gilman and Bill Hattrick and Bill Lewis and the rest of the cast of characters. It was wonderful. It was. And I'll never forget it because that's experiencing live history. That really is. And it's not often you get to travel in a vintage coach or a vintage club car from the 40s or 50s at speed, at 80, 90 miles an hour down to San Diego from Los Angeles. And be dressed in period attire. But anyway, those were special times. But going to Hawaii in 2017 and going to Pearl Harbor and Ford Island, it really brought it full circle. I'll tell you, it really did. People that haven't been don't get it, but I'll say that the overwhelming presence of that day is still very much there. It is. It's very solemn. It's sacred ground. And I was going through the museum of the Aviation Museum of the Pacific, which is on Ford Island, and went through the museum. It was beautiful. Hit the gift shop, bought a few souvenirs, of course, and then they ushered you out to the tarmac to Hangar 79, and you start seeing panes of glass in the hangar that are broken, divots out of the concrete of the hangar, which is gone. and also a lot of pot marks in the concrete, in the tarmac. And you're walking along there and you feel the roughness under your shoes, and then you look down and you see that it's just it's really in bad condition. And then you realize why it's in bad condition. Yeah. But it was incredible. It was very emotional. Oh gosh, very, very emotional. And it's rightfully so. But standing over the Arizona monument, standing on the monument over the Arizona, is what I meant to say, you see the oil bubbling up from the fuel tanks, because they were topped off that morning, because they were there to refuel and get ready for another movement eventually. But they were being held there from San Diego because they felt that war was on the horizon, and they felt that the U.S. fleet would be better positioned at Hawaii than in San Diego, I believe. And but anyway, I'm not going to get into the particulars, but I'm talking about more today about the overwhelming feeling that you can get there, that you will get there. If you visit Honolulu, Pearl Harbor, Oahu, it's interesting because I've heard people make comments about Oahu as the tourist trap of the Pacific, or the Las Vegas of the Pacific. And if there's elements of that, hotel trade and tourism there. But it's interesting because if you don't pay attention to it, it's not a big deal. It was very thick, especially there. Standing over the wreck, you felt a weight, like a physical weight on your shoulders, and the heaviness was so real. It was a physical thing you felt. It wasn't just I don't know. I can't describe it really, but it was very thick, and I just remember being just really worn out emotionally, being there, just being there. And I remember after the monument, my wife at the time wanted an ice cream sandwich, so she went and got one. And while she was getting one, I was sitting on the grass looking at Battleship Row, where it had been once. And I was sitting there underneath the coconut palm, and I was just gazing at the Missouri, the Arizona Monument, and the USS Bowfin, which was a Gato-class submarine that was launched on December 7th of 1942. They call it the Pearl Harbor Avenger. Beautiful sub, beautiful. Great museum. But anyways, it's right there in the harbor as well. And just taking it all in, taking in the sights and drinking that in, and realizing what I was looking at, and I just lost it. I absolutely lost it. It just overwhelmed me, and I lost it. And what I mean by that, I just became very emotional, and it just came over me very, very suddenly. And after leaving Pearl Harbor, then we drove to the cemetery at Punch Bowl. And that was a very special, sacred experience as well. And parking at Punch Bowl to exit the car and walk around and look at the graves, and the majority of the Pearl Harbor casualties, victims, are there at Punch Bowl. And there was a Navy band that was playing for a funeral, and they were dressed in their whites, and it was beautiful. They were playing some beautiful music, and it was gentle breeze, scattered clouds, gorgeous day. And walking along and seeing the timeline of markers that they had put out there for World War II and commemorating Pearl Harbor through the end of the war. It was very, very special. Then getting back into the car and then driving around and finding our way out, it started to rain. And I'm going to be playing a song for the here in this video called Cowards Over Pearl Harbor, and it was recorded by Denver Darling in 1943 or 44, I believe. But anyways, it's a very, very poignant song, a piece of its time, but also very I don't know, it's a special piece. But anyways, it's that song came on as we were leaving the Punch Bowl, and then a rainbow appeared as the clouds started to part and the rain started to taper off, and then there was a rainbow, and that song was playing, and it was just like, I mean, could you script a more emotional experience? I don't think so. But Hawaii was, of course, beautiful as it is, but it was very spiritual in those moments. And I would like to say to those people that told me that was not the place to go, you were wrong. It was the place to go. It was the first island I've been to, and it's actually the island my father was born on. My family on that side of the family they were in Hawaii. They were in Oahu after the war, and my grandfather had a radio station that he ran there, and they lived there since after the war. And then my father was born in 49, and then they moved 2 years later to Yuma, Arizona. But anyways, so I was the first Smith from that side of the family to go back to Hawaii. And it was amazing. It really was. But the car show was fun. It was nice. Saw some great people, reconnected with a few other people in the car scene, and it was very cool. It was great. It was a great day. But since I had my car decorated for Pearl Harbor's, commemorates, it did start a few conversations. Did. They're good conversations, but people liked and recognized the homage, the tribute to commemorate and recognize the day that it is. And it's rare for people to really do that at a car show. Everyone's there for one reason, is to show their car and talk about their car and talk about car stuff. And that's fine. I have nothing against that. And car shows can be fun. And I've met a lot of great people at car shows, and in those, the car culture, there's definitely some good people that I've met through those avenues. And I'm not going to say anything negative about the car culture here in California, because I've been actually pretty impressed by it. Mm-hmm. It takes a dedicated person to have an antique car, to build a custom or a hot rod. Might not be my personal flavor as much as it is others, but it takes a dedication to do it. It takes dedication and skill to maintain, and passion to maintain an antique car. It really does. But I'll tell you, driving around that Dodge with that Pearl Harbor bumper plate, I know people see it. And it's kind of like just a reminder to those who pay attention. But friends, thank you so much for tuning in and listening to my ramblings. I appreciate you guys. But remember Pearl Harbor. And remember those who paid the ultimate sacrifice before they even knew what was really happening. And I say these things to you guys with love and respect. And we'll see you on Thursday for our regular scheduled program. Take care. God bless.
Should I be ever blue, I will sing this song of you. Please spare your tears for me. Darling, smile when I go away on this sunny steamer day. Of winter come crying through the darkness, your lovely voice will come to me, even though in spirit across the mighty ocean, crying Hawaii, Hawaii nay. When I come back again in the spring of another year, my darling boy across the sea, please be waiting there for me.
Sit, Boo Boo, sit. Good dog.